Welcome to Stoic Capsule, everyone. Today, I want to ask you something. Have you ever noticed that the loudest person in the room is rarely the one who truly holds the power? In a world drowning in noise and desperate for attention, there's a rare kind of individual, the one who moves in silence, with discipline and clarity. That person becomes unstoppable. The ancient Stoics understood this secret. True mastery isn't about conquering others. It's about conquering yourself. And today, we'll explore exactly how you can rise above the chaos, stand unshaken, and embody a quiet strength that not only outlasts, but also outshines the rest. So stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear might completely change the way you carry yourself in every room you enter. Let's begin with the first principle. Observe more than you speak. Think about it. What's more powerful, rushing to be heard, or holding the kind of presence that makes people lean in, curious about what you might say next? The discipline of watching more than you speak is one of the quietest yet most commanding advantages you can ever develop. While the world races to prove itself, eager for validation, applause, and attention, the Stoic knows better. He understands that true power doesn't come from how loudly you speak, but from how deeply you see. As others scramble to display their knowledge, the Stoic waits, still and attentive. In that stillness, he notices what the noisy miss: the motives hidden beneath words, the fears tucked behind ambitions, the alliances formed in silence. Because here's the truth: most people speak to be understood, to control how they are perceived. But the Stoic listens to understand not appearances, but reality, not the mask, but the soul behind it. And that patience earns him an invisible advantage. People reveal far more than they realize when they talk. Their hopes, their insecurities, their blind spots, all of it laid bare for the one wise enough to watch and wait. So remember, speak only when your words improve the silence. Not from fear, but from strength. Silence isn't emptiness, it's clarity. It frees you from the urge to impress and gives you the power to truly understand. And in time, your silence will be mistaken for wisdom, and eventually, it will become wisdom. Because you've learned the art of timing, of restraint, of measured expression. Picture this. You walk into a business meeting. Everyone is desperate to dominate the room, to sound like the smartest person there. Yet one man sits quietly, listening not just to what is spoken, but to what is left unsaid. He observes alliances forming, hesitations breaking through certain voices, subtle emotions shaping the conversation. And when he finally chooses to speak, his words cut through the noise with precision, addressing not only what was said, but the deeper truth beneath it. That man will leave the room with more influence than the loudest voice ever could. Not because he demanded attention, but because he mastered it. This is the Stoic art of observation, not passive, not detached, but active, alive, and powerful. To see, to listen, to read the world as it truly is. You see, the beauty of observing more than you speak is that it frees you from the exhausting need to insert yourself into every moment. And once you begin to cultivate this skill, something remarkable happens. It transforms the very way you move through life. When you choose silence over noise, you suddenly become a mystery to others. They don't know what you're thinking. They can't predict your next move, And most importantly, they can't twist your words against you because you haven't carelessly handed them ammunition. This is what gives you strategic depth. In a world obsessed with constant exposure, the man who understands how to remain partially hidden becomes rare and formidable. He is not easily read, not easily manipulated. But observation is not only about protecting yourself from others. It sharpens your understanding of yourself as well. When you no longer scramble to be heard, you create the space to pause, to reflect, to question your own assumptions, and to quietly correct your course before the world ever notices your missteps. Silence, then, is not just power over others, it is power over yourself. In every conversation, every encounter, ask yourself, what is truly being said here? What is motivating this person? Where is the truth hiding beneath all the noise? Learn to develop the patience to sit with these questions, instead of rushing toward the comfort of easy answers. Learn the discipline to endure the discomfort of silence instead of filling it with needless chatter. Over time, you'll notice a profound shift. You'll no longer feel the desperate need to prove yourself. You won't be dragged into the drama of every situation. And when you finally do speak, it won't be from insecurity, it will be from clarity. And your words will land with devastating precision at the end of the day. Those who observe more than they speak don't just navigate the world more effectively. They move through it like silent architects. They shape outcomes not through noise, but through a deep, unshakable understanding. Which brings us to the second principle. Let action be your voice. This is one of the most underrated, yet profoundly Stoic ways to outsmart the world in silence by letting your actions do the speaking for you. In a society obsessed with announcements, declarations, and endless self-promotion, the true Stoic recognizes a timeless truth. The loudest voice in the room rarely holds the real power. True influence is quiet. True mastery doesn't need applause. It doesn't crave validation. Seneca himself captured it perfectly. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Words are cheap. Promises are fleeting, but action that endures. The Stoic doesn't waste his energy proclaiming what he will achieve, or boasting about how hard he is working. He simply works, quietly, relentlessly, like a river carving its way through stone, not with noise, but with persistence. While others make noise to gain applause, the Stoic wins in silence, and lets the results speak louder than any self-promotion ever could. Think about it, wolves never need to announce their presence. Their presence is felt, not heard. Their strength is known, not declared. Likewise, when you move through the world quietly building your life, strengthening your character, sharpening your skills, you don't need to tell anyone what you're becoming. Your excellence will announce you. Your discipline will leave a trail. Your results will arrive long before your words ever need to. And let's be clear, this isn't about hiding. It's about building something so real, so undeniable, that when it finally appears, no introduction is necessary. Set your goals in silence. Pursue them with quiet determination. So, how do we embody this principle in daily life? The answer is simple. Sharpen your craft every single day, even when no one is watching. Not because you're chasing applause, not because you crave validation, but because mastery itself is the ultimate reward. The Stoic works in the shadows, preparing for a future he never brags about, because he knows that in time, the future will reveal everything he has built in private. Think of a real-world example. Imagine two people beginning their fitness journey. The first shouts his intentions to the world, proclaiming every goal, posting daily updates, celebrating each minor milestone, relying on the world's approval to stay motivated. The second says nothing. He simply shows up day after day, quietly lifting, running, sweating without fanfare, without announcements. Months later, when the results are undeniable, who commands genuine respect? The one who let his transformation speak for itself, not because he begged for recognition, but because the evidence became impossible to ignore. And this principle extends far beyond the gym. It applies to careers, to relationships, to the personal battles no one else sees. The temptation is always there to tell others what we're planning, to explain our vision, to seek encouragement when the path feels lonely. But every time we speak too soon, we give away a piece of our power. We invite expectations we never needed. We waste precious energy on appearances instead of substance. The Stoic knows better. He protects his energy. He works in silence. He lets his success, or even his silent endurance, be the only voice he needs. Because the real secret is consistency. Quiet, steady, daily consistency. No grand gestures, no dramatic proclamations, just disciplined action, repeated again and again. That is what truly unsettles people, not the one who talks endlessly about ambition, but the one who simply keeps showing up, moving forward, improving, without ever needing to explain. And here lies the beauty of this approach. It doesn't just affect how others perceive you. It transforms you from within. When you commit to silent work, you strip away the craving for external validation. You stop living for the applause. You become immune to the fleeting opinions of others. Your reward becomes intrinsic, the satisfaction of knowing you honored your own potential. Even when no one else was watching, even when no one clapped. The Stoics understood this well. The greatest victory is not convincing others of your greatness, but mastering yourself so completely that no external recognition is necessary. Your life itself becomes the argument. Your discipline becomes the proof. Your peace becomes the announcement. I once met a craftsman, an old carpenter, who embodied this truth perfectly. While others in his field marketed themselves with flashy promises, he simply worked. Year after year, project after project, he honed his craft. His reputation didn't grow because of loud declarations. It grew because every table, every chair, every beam he touched whispered of excellence. People traveled from far away just to own something built by his hands. And when asked about his success, he would smile gently and say, "Good work needs no advertisement." That right there is Stoicism in practice. So, set your goals quietly. Pursue them relentlessly. Move forward without announcing your every step. And when you finally achieve, let others wonder how you did it. Let them realize that while they were busy talking, you were busy building. While they sought attention, you sought mastery. And even if no one notices at first, even if applause never comes, you will have gained something far greater than recognition. You will have gained self-respect, inner peace, and a strength that depends on no one else. All of this rests on a foundation stronger than opinion. It is built on the solid rock of consistent effort. Because at the end of the day, real power does not shout. It moves silently, leaves its mark deeply, and lets results do the speaking. This brings us to the third principle, master detachment. Perhaps one of the most misunderstood, yet devastatingly effective strategies for mastery not just over others, but over yourself is the weapon of emotional detachment. We live in a world where nearly everyone is chained to outcomes, chained to winning, to being liked, to receiving validation. But the Stoic, he walks a different path. He moves through life with a secret advantage: the refusal to be enslaved by what he cannot control. His strength lies not in manipulating the outside world, but in mastering his own mind. At the very heart of this philosophy is the concept of amor fati, to love fate. Not to merely endure what happens, but to embrace it as though you chose it yourself. To see victory and defeat, gain and loss, praise and criticism not as separate realities to chase or avoid, but as equal threads, woven into the same fabric of life. The Stoic knows that real freedom is not getting what you want. It is not needing it, and that is what makes him untouchable. Most people are frighteningly easy to manipulate because they are desperate for something: approval, recognition, affection, praise. This desperation makes them predictable. When insulted, they rush to defend themselves. When challenged, they scramble to prove something. When praised, they become addicted to more praise. Their emotions sway like leaves in the wind, tossed about by the winds of fortune. But the Stoic stands firm. He knows outcomes are external, while effort, character, and virtue are internal. And only the internal deserves his loyalty. Every day, he reflects, what is within my control? Only my mind, my effort, my attitude. Everything else, fortune, reputation, the opinions of others, is not mine to own, and therefore not mine to fear losing. Picture this. Two warriors prepare for battle. The first is obsessed with victory. He cannot imagine defeat, and his mind is consumed by fear and tension. If he wins, he feels validated. If he loses, he is shattered. The second warrior, however, focuses only on what is within his control: his preparation, his discipline, his courage to step into the fight with honor. His peace is not tied to the outcome of the battle, and because of that, he moves freely, without fear. Which warrior fights with greater clarity and strength? Always the one who is detached. And this principle extends far beyond the battlefield. A student who studies only to impress others will crumble when failure comes. A leader who craves applause will be destroyed by criticism. A lover who clings out of fear will suffocate the very person they wish to hold close. The tighter you grip outcomes, the more fragile you become. But the one who walks through life unattached, not careless, but free, becomes untouchable. I once knew a young entrepreneur who embodied this perfectly. While his peers obsessed over funding, market approval, and recognition, he remained quietly focused on creating something truly valuable, no matter how long it took, no matter who noticed. Some years he failed, some years he succeeded, but through it all, his emotional state remained steady. Investors respected him. Customers trusted him. Competitors feared him, not because he chased outcomes, but because he was free from them. And here's the truth. His strength did not come because he chased validation, it came because he didn't need it. His indifference to outcomes made him dangerous in the best possible way. Detachment, after all, is not about giving up. It's about giving your very best effort while surrendering the results. It's about caring deeply for your virtues, for your discipline, your courage, your kindness, but not caring about the applause or the trophies that may or may not follow. With this mindset, every hardship becomes training. Every insult becomes an invitation to practice patience. Every failure becomes a sharpening of the soul. So how do you cultivate this weapon of detachment? You train yourself daily to see clearly what belongs to you and what does not. Your actions yours. Your intentions yours. But other people's reactions? Not yours. The results of your honest efforts? Also not yours. Each night you reflect. Did I live by my values today, regardless of outcomes? If the answer is yes, then you have already won. When insulted, you do not retaliate. Your calm indifference confuses the petty and empowers the wise. When challenged, you do not waste energy defending your ego, you defend only your principles. And when praised, you accept it with humility, but you do not let it become your identity. Because you are not your successes any more than you are your failures. You are your effort. You are your character. To truly outsmart those who are ruled by their egos. You don't need to fight them, you simply have to stop needing what they need. When they crave approval, you remain unmoved. When they fear failure, you embrace every outcome as part of your path. When they cling desperately to a fragile self-image, you let yours dissolve into the clarity of simply being. This is the secret gift of detachment. It grants you a calmness that unsettles those who cannot understand it. It gives you clarity, while others are blinded by emotion. It gives you strength, while others drain themselves chasing validation. Detachment allows you to live fully not on the condition that you win, but on the commitment that you play the game with honor, courage, and grace. At the end of the day, the one who expects nothing, fears nothing, and needs nothing cannot be outsmarted. Why? Because he has already won where it matters most within himself. Which leads us to the fourth principle. Build an unshakable character. This is the most silent, and perhaps the most devastating way to outsmart the world. By becoming so steady, so resilient, so deeply rooted in virtue that nothing, no attack, no betrayal, no misfortune can break you. Think about the world we live in today. So many bend easily under pressure. So many shift their loyalties when it's convenient. So many crumble at the very first sign of hardship. But the man of unshakable character? He stands like a mountain, silent, immovable, enduring. To truly outsmart everyone without stress is not merely about clever tactics or subtle strategies. It is about mastering yourself so completely that your very existence becomes a quiet form of resistance against chaos. And this kind of mastery is not built in the spotlight. Not in moments of applause, it is forged alone, in the unseen hours. Through daily disciplines no one claps for and no one celebrates. The Stoics knew this truth well. Character is not revealed in times of comfort, but in the crucible of crisis. of loss, of solitude. When things fall apart, when the lights go out, when the world turns its back, that is when you finally meet your true self. And if you have built yourself well, you won't need to scramble for strength or pretend to be resilient. You will already be strong. But building this kind of character doesn't happen by accident. It requires deliberate, daily practice. It means choosing habits that strengthen your mind, shape your heart, and anchor your soul in something deeper than circumstance. So how do you build this fortress of character? You begin with your soul. You feed it daily with the wisdom of those who came before you. You write, you journal, sharpening your self-awareness like a blade. You reflect on your actions without excuses, facing yourself with honesty even when it stings. You surround yourself with silence, not to escape the world, but to hear your own soul more clearly. It means embracing solitude not as loneliness, but as a training ground for independence. It means holding yourself to a higher standard than the world ever demands, not because you seek reward, but because you refuse to lower your spirit into mediocrity. The world asks very little of you. Show up, follow trends, chase pleasure, avoid discomfort. But Stoicism asks something radically different. It calls you to discipline yourself, to cultivate wisdom, to practice courage, to live with justice, and to endure hardship with grace. The Stoic does not aim to be praised. He aims to be worthy of his own respect. And here lies the paradox. When you live this way silently, persistently, consistently, people will notice. They won't always understand it. Some will admire you, others will resent you, but all of them will feel it. They will ask themselves, how is he so calm when everything around him is falling apart? How does he stay composed while others lose themselves to fear and anger? How does he keep moving forward so steadily while the rest collapse under their emotions? And you won't need to explain. You won't need to justify. Your presence will be the answer. Stoic wisdom never needs to announce itself. It reveals itself quietly, unmistakably, through the life you live. Think of a seasoned sailor navigating a violent storm. While others panic, he remains focused, steady, clear. He cannot control the waves or the winds, but he can control the sails, the rudder, and his own mind. His survival depends not on changing the storm, but on mastering himself within it. That is life. That is Stoic character. I once knew a man who embodied this principle without ever needing to speak much about it. He faced enormous hardships, loss of his business, betrayal by friends, even a serious illness. Yet he never once allowed bitterness or despair to take root in him. Every morning, he rose early. He read philosophy. He wrote down his intentions for the day. He treated everyone with respect, even those who had wronged him. And when asked about his struggles, he would simply smile and say, "Life trains those it loves." No dramatics, no self-pity, just steady, enduring strength. Over time, even those who once mocked him came to admire him not because he demanded their admiration, but because character eventually commands respect without ever needing to ask for it. If you want to outsmart everyone without stress, build such a character, not for applause, not for recognition, but because it is the only foundation that will not crack when life inevitably tests you. And life will test you, This path is not glamorous. It is often lonely. It demands that you walk away from the noise, from cheap validation, from easy shortcuts. It demands that you become your own harshest critic and your own greatest ally. It demands that you work quietly in the dark, trusting that the light will one day reveal what you built when no one was watching. Every book you chose to read instead of wasting time. Every moment of reflection when others drowned themselves in distraction. Every act of integrity when no one was there to applaud. Every time you responded with patience instead of anger, with perseverance instead of surrender, you were laying another stone in the fortress of your character. And then, one day, you will realize something profound. You no longer have to force anything. Your discipline, your peace, your resilience, they will be written into the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you endure. It will no longer be something you try to show. It will simply radiate from you. And quietly, steadily, you will outlast the boastful, the frantic, the shallow. Because while they were busy chasing illusions, you were becoming something real. At the end of the day, the strongest move you can ever make in a chaotic world is to become a man of such unshakable character that nothing, not praise, not insult, not victory, not loss can move you away from who you truly are. Remember this. You don't need to be the loudest voice in the room to be the strongest presence. True mastery is never measured by how much attention you command, but by how little you need it. In a world constantly begging for noise, approval, and applause, you rise above by mastering only one thing: yourself, your mind, your actions, your spirit. The Stoics always taught that the greatest victories are not parades or trophies. They are the quiet battles fought within, far from the eyes of the crowd. Outsmarting everyone silently is not about trickery or deception. It is about living with such discipline, patience, and inner strength that the world itself is forced to adjust around you. It is about choosing restraint over reaction, focus over distraction, virtue over vanity. And when you live this way, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop chasing influence, and it begins to flow naturally through who you are. You stop needing to prove anything, because your very presence becomes proof. So let your work, your consistency, your peace be your voice. Let every silent step you take toward wisdom and mastery leave a trail that speaks louder than words ever could. One day, your presence will say everything that pride never needed to. And if this message speaks to you, if you feel called to continue walking this rare path of silent strength, then I invite you to stand with me. Subscribe to Stoic Capsule, not to chase noise, but to cultivate the quiet power that changes everything. If you're with me on this journey, comment below, quiet power. I would love to know who among us stands steady in silence. Stay disciplined. Stay steady. Stay unseen. Because your silent strength is already building something unstoppable. And in the next video, we'll go even deeper into the timeless Stoic strategies that can shape a life no storm will ever be able to shake.